Welcome back to Right Answers Mostly, a podcast on what you didn't learn in history class but you really wanted to. My name's Claire Donald.
My name is Tess Palomo.
Happy New Year, Rammies. New Year, same us.
Did you miss us?
I missed you guys so much.
We really did.
Yeah, as we were sitting down, I was like, I don't know. I'm anxious. I'm scared, okay?
Even when we take like a week off,
know.
sometimes we just can feel rusty, but there's no judgment here.
No, and if you have been missing us, you know that you could find extra episodes on our Patreon. If you don't know what Patreon is, you just pay $7.99 a month and you get 2 bonus episodes. And that's when Tess and I can like really talk shit, really.
We talk shit about celebrities. We talk shit about ourselves.
Yeah, of course. We get really personal and vulnerable, and like you get to know us better too.
Yes, it's an entirely different space if you're looking for something that's not, so much history lesson. And it's a special little club. And if you're in that club,
you're also on our close friends list on Instagram, and shit goes down there as well.
It sure does. So just consider there's a 7-day trial. Yeah. We've never had anyone that does the free trial and then says they don't want to do it. So.
That's right. So catch us on Patreon. But 2024, Tess, how are you?
I'm good.
Yay.
Yeah, it's, You want
to tell the kids about the exciting news?
Okay, I'm like, let's cut the bullshit. Let's go straight
seriously.
to it. So, as some of you may know, we interviewed Candace from the Real Housewives of Potomac.
Our queen,
icon, legend. We had that interview in September, and she has always been so supportive of us. She has rooted for us.
She has.
And we had mentioned when we were talking to her, and then we went out to dinner after with her, we were like, we would love to be bartenders on Watch What Happens Live. This woman has been doing all of the work.
She does the work, people. She's talented.
And we got a DM from her and a text from her manager today saying, oh, hey, guys, we'd actually love if you would be Candace's bartenders and Watch What Happens Live next week.
Rammy. So that is right. If this episode's coming out on Monday, so on Monday the 15th, we will be on Watch What Happens Live Sunday the 21st. That is what we are told. We're heading to New York.
Claire and I are going to do 3 days there. We're going to go on the show. All the things are running through our head right now of like, we need to get glam, we need to get outfits. We've been contacted with that stylist.
We can't even talk. Spray tans, obviously.
Spray tans. And also then just like, okay, this is going to be our first TV appearance ever. Millions of people watch the show. It's now on Peacock the day after if you don't have cable.
That's right. And also, if you guys are also Bravo fans, which we've gotten so many DMs of people being like, I've started Real Housewives because of you. That is the greatest honor of our lives.
You don't even understand.
You don't understand. We have a whole episode on the history of Andy Cohen as well. So we'll re-release that this week so that you can get all of that.
It's a great episode. And we also talk a lot about history of housewives in that episode. So you can get like a full thing, but we're freaking out.
You know that we always say it always goes back to Bravo. So it's just like
it literally is going to Bravo. It's going to the mothership.
The mothership. We are going to the mothership. So we're very excited, and we'll be taking you through the journey. We'll vlog all of it and put it on Patreon as well.
Yes. And if you are watching it or you watch it the next day, take a photo and tag us. And we'd love to see you guys watching it too.
We really would. And tag us on Instagram and TikTok at Right Answers Mostly, like anytime you want, and follow us. We love you.
Please do.
Well, Tess, should we just honestly get into it?
Let's just get into it.
So we have talked about this woman. She's come up in a few episodes, oddly. And also, I've noticed there's a lot of episodes we've already covered that her story crosses over.
We love a crossover.
You guys have asked for it. We are covering Betty Ford. We are both dressed in like blazer cardigans.
Of course, with a crop top for myself. But, you have to keep it interesting.
We have to stay true to ourselves.
Exactly.
Tess, what do you know about Betty Ford?
I really don't know much. I know that she was the first lady. Mm-hmm. I know about Betty Ford Centers pretty intimately.
Oh, okay.
I did accompany someone once to Betty Ford Center as a support. Yes, and I was there, but I did not know that it was a rehab center.
This is a crazy
and
summer camp.
That might be a story for Patreon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was there for a few days and thought it was a great time. There was a fun pool.
Oh, nice.
Lots of fun games.
Yeah, was it a beautiful center?
It was beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah, it felt very much like a nice hotel. I think I was in Arizona or Palm Springs. I forget, some desert place. I think I was like 8.
Well, and we know that our queen icon legend Stevie Nicks also went to Betty Ford, and
we love that work that she has done, and that's kind of all I know.
I also didn't know that much about her. The first time she came into my world was remember that show The First Lady? It was on Showtime. Viola Davis plays Michelle Obama. The mom from Sex Education plays Eleanor Roosevelt, and Michelle Pfeiffer plays Betty Ford.
Oh my God, that's iconic.
Yes, and I've tried to find it everywhere. The only place that it is on Fubo, the sports channel, which is also like $74 a month. And I'm like, excuse me, who do you think you are?
But what's sad is that people will
I
pay
know.
that to watch.
Well, I've
watch sports.
used I've created so many fake email addresses for free trials during football season, and they caught me because it's like the same card. Apparently, I did that for Rams.
I can get the show for you. We'll talk after.
Okay, we'll talk. We'll talk offline.
Don't want to, spill all the secrets.
But I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, we
now.
got you.
So that's the first time I was like, a first lady that became sober and like shared being an alcoholic is just something that is so not normal.
No, I feel like you really can't share any of your struggles as president or
Right.
first lady. It's like everyone's happily married. Everyone,
Yep. And this, like, Betty Ford completely changed all of that.
Oh, wow.
So I'm so excited to share her story with you today. I'm drinking a Diet Coke because usually we drink a cocktail or we smoke a joint on the show. But to honor our sober queen, we're going non-alcoholic. Tess, what are you drinking?
I am drinking none other than Blake Lively's company, Betty Buzz, a ginger beer. Perfect for a mocktail, perfect to mix in with alcohol later.
That's right.
After January.
This isn't sponsored. We tried. And check your DMs, Betty Buzz. We would like to talk to you still.
We have DM'd you guys if you do. That is fresh as
Is
hell.
it good? Can I try a sip? So I wanted to also drink the ginger beer, but we forgot a bottle opener. Tess managed to open up one with keys, and then her fingers started bleeding.
I am bleeding for this project. I am bleeding for RAM.
Check us out on Spotify or YouTube. You can watch our videos there.
Yeah, you can see our cute outfits. We look good.
Oh, sorry about the gulp. And oh my God.
It's fresh.
It's so
She said
good.
something. Also, the advertising for this company is so good.
It's so
she
hot.
said something about little bubbles, and I love a little bubble.
I love a tight bubble.
This is tight.
Love that. Topo Chicos, they're
Good
tight
job, Blake
bubbles.
Lively. You're hot. You're smart.
What more could you want?
You're an entrepreneur.
Speaking of hot and smart.
Yeah.
Betty Ford. So, obviously, to cite my sources, I listened to the audiobook on Spotify, actually, called Betty Ford, First Lady, Woman's Advocate, Survivor, and Trailblazer by Liz McCubbin.
What a title.
No kidding.
Just keep going on and on.
It's like everything. She is everything. The PBS doc, Betty Ford, The Real Deal, a Washington Post article by Donnie Radcliffe, and, of course, our stepfather, Wikipedia.
Always.
We always have to go back to him.
Of course.
So shall we begin?
Let's do it.
First episode 2024. Okay. Elizabeth Ann Bloomer, we will later know her as Betty Ford, was born on April 8th, 1918 in Chicago, Illinois. Aries.
Aries is always an interesting one.
On fire. If you guys are watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Kyle just revealed that Big Kath was a fiery Irish Aries.
She sure did. And that was a loaded sentence when she was talking about that.
I literally gasped.
I mean, she was basically like she was the most terrifying person I've ever met in my
And
life.
we know that, and we see that.
Yeah, we've been around for a long time.
Exactly.
To know.
Exactly. We see generational trauma.
We do. And we talk about it here.
Yeah. It all goes back to Bravo from the gate. Okay, so she's the third child and only daughter of her parents Hortense and William Stevenson Bloomer. Her mom's name is Hortense. Her father was a traveling salesman for Royal Rubber Company, so he was gone often, and this makes her mother very independent from the start. Her family moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and this is where she primarily grows up. But she had a very bubbly, infectious personality. She was a natural tomboy with two older brothers. They taught her how to play hockey and throw a football. But her mom was determined to make her like a lady. But I just want to say, because when I hear that like her mom was, if I were to hear she was like really big on manners and she made sure that Betty wore like gloves and a hat every time she went out, I would think like she's uptight, but she was actually very warm and loving.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, she had a good relationship with her mom. So her mom enrolls Betty into a dance class when she's 8 years old, and Betty just completely falls in love with it, which is why I'm also wearing pink ballet flats. Look at Tessa's frame.
Oh.
She loves it, especially modern dance, though.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
She's a modern dance girly. I mean, what a specific type of...
Yeah. Just picture, what is it, Save the Last Dance?
Oh, yeah.
The dance at the end, that was Betty Ford. On the chair.
A hip-hop infusion.
Of course. So she struggled to get average grades in school, but she excelled at dance. Which I was like, we've had a subject like that before, Marie Antoinette.
Well, we love we love a creative queen.
That's right.
What's it, a left side brain person?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we know that well.
We know it too well.
This is why you're here. She said that dance was her happiness. And she took her love of dance and used it when she worked with children. From a young age, she worked with children with disabilities at the Mary Free Bed Home for Crippled Children. Her mother was very active in the community, and her mother was president there. And Betty would bring in a phonograph, and she would teach these kids how to move with their body to the music in that way.
Oh, how old was she doing this?
She was like a kid to a teenager when she was doing that. That's pretty amazing.
That's when you know you're a good person, when you're doing good shit when you're like
when no one
not
tells
an
you
adult.
to do it.
Yeah.
I agree. And at the age of 14, she began modeling clothes at local stores, and she began teaching dance classes on her own because it was the height of the Great Depression.
Needed something to get by.
Yeah, we'll cover the Great Depression, I think, like what went down.
You guys have asked for it many times.
Yeah, it's on your list. I think you should do it.
Oh my God, I did put it on the other night. I was like, yeah. I was
Why
like, let's
not?
do it.
Why not the Great Depression?
Do the Great Depression.
Let's fucking do it. So in school, Betty was really popular. She just like had that it factor. Her friends were like, we'd wait to see what boys asked her out and which boys were left that we could get afterwards.
Oh, there's always one.
There's always one. She said that, but she loved the chase of the boys. She said, quote, I would set my cap for somebody and would work at it till I got his fraternity pin. As soon as I got it, I was satisfied and would move on to my next victim.
She has. No, this is not. Never mind. This is not a good comparison.
Say it.
Well, I just watched Get Out.
Oh, God.
And you know, at the end when Allison Williams has like all of the men up in frames on her bedroom and she's just eating cereal. Different.
Tough transition. But when she was 16, it was like her life was, pretty good. Even in the Great Depression, they ended up doing okay. Like they did lose a lot, but compared to a lot of other people, they were fine. But when she was 16, she came home and discovered that her father had died. He was found in the family's garage in the car, and the keys were in the ignition, and the car was emptied of gas, and the cause was carbon monoxide poisoning.
Oh my God.
However,
she found him?
She didn't find him. She came home, and one of her family members were there. I believe her mom found him. It was ruled an accidental death. However, that whole situation, and he had taken out a life insurance policy. Oh, Mom, that's what I was going to ask you about. I was on the phone with my mom today. I was like, I was going to ask you and make sure that's the way it works. When you take out a life insurance policy and then someone dies pretty soon, you would think that the death was planned, right? Because you're planning for...
Yeah, well, yeah, because wasn't there some case that we were talking about where...
There was life insurance
Yeah,
policy.
I think that's usually the way.
Yeah. Well, she acknowledged later in life that it was probably a suicide. And at the funeral, for the first time, she heard people whispering, and she found out that her dad was an alcoholic. And that's how she found out.
Oh, so did people think that he was like drunk drive or like...
I think that people thought that he lost a lot during the Great Depression, and he was an alcoholic and he was depressed.
So like she kind of started connecting the dots a little bit.
And she didn't know that he was an alcoholic because he was a traveling salesman, and so he was gone a lot. And so I guess he would drink when he was gone.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of kids being like, wait, what?
And really just so tough to like have to grieve your dad and then find out this information.
Oh, yeah.
So with her father's passing, her family, loses their primary breadwinner, and her mom has to get her real estate license to support the family. And this is the first time that Betty sees her mom doing this, and she's like, she's such a badass. Women deserve equality because my mom is going out and getting it on her own,
And this is like the 40s?
This is, the late 30s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like rare for probably a single mom to be like the breadwinner and then have a
of
job like
three.
real estate is like impressive.
I agree. And Betty thought so too, and it really inspired her. So when Betty graduates high school, she wants to move to New York City right away and pursue dance.
Don't we all?
Don't we all? Well, we will be moving to New York. Not moving.
That's true. Never say never.
We'll see you soon, New York.
No, just kidding. We're not leaving.
No, we're not. But bi-coastal life would be nice.
Yes.
But her mom is like, absolutely not. I'm not letting my only daughter move to New York right after high school. So instead, Betty she gets accepted to the Bennington School of Dance in Bennington, Vermont, and she goes there for 2 summers.
Great.
And this is where she studies under the modern dance legend, Martha Graham.
I was just about to be like, was it Martha?
It was Martha.
It always is, isn't it?
It is. Did you have to take like Martha Graham classes?
Yes, I did, Claire.
Yeah, that go for you.
That was the one where that dance teacher hated me, and she gave me a D in modern dance my first semester of college. And I was like, I'm coming to every class. I'm doing my goddamn best.
I'm not a
I'm not a
professional
dancer.
dancer.
My papers are like average.
You have to write papers in modern dance.
It was a very once a week was a lecture and the other week was like movement. And I
Wow.
guess one time I was texting my boyfriend because we were in a fight and she asked me to put my phone away. And ever since then I was like, oh, she's gonna fail me.
And now she hates me.
And she did. So that's my experience with little Martha.
Well, Martha, and I do think modern dance is kind of intense, and the school seems intense, but Betty loved it. But like they would be dancing literally all day long. She got so sore one time that she had to like crawl down the stairs on her butt.
I mean, I might be wrong, but isn't Martha Graham and like that sort of dance practice, isn't it very like mathematical?
I think so.
Like you have to like almost map out like
Yeah.
where you're going in the room and there's certain like movements that you can and angles that you can do.
Yes, and like the way that you hold your body. Well,
Jesus.
Betty loves it so much that she actually gets accepted to the Martha Graham School in New York.
Good
and
for her.
Yeah, and when she's 20, her mom's like, okay, I guess you can move to New York and try it out. So she does really well at that school. Betty performs at Carnegie Hall, but Martha Graham confronts her and is like, Betty, if to have a future, you've got to give up everything else, because Martha knew that Betty liked to party.
She liked the sauce.
She liked the song. She liked going out and being social with her friends. She was in New York City. She loved to date.
Well, I mean, she's a hot little thing that,
No kidding,
is
but,
exploring.
I mean, I just saw Black Swan. Like, you can't have another life outside of dance.
Also, imagine being hungover as a dancer.
Absolutely not. Like, there's no way.
Or like I'm always like, I can barely go to Pilates if I've had 3 drinks the night before.
Sometimes it hits and like it's just a solution, but that's rare.
And sometimes it just doesn't.
It doesn't. So Martha kind of knew, like, you're in it, but you're not quite in it. You need to settle down. And while this is happening, it's about a year in New York. Her mom keeps calling her or writing her letters, I guess is the time. And it's like, oh, you're missing so much here. These people just got married. Wouldn't it be so nice if you came back home? And then finally her mom's like, please move back home for 6 months, just 6 months to humor me. And then you can go back to New York and I'll never say anything else.
Oh, and she probably felt guilty because of the dad and everything.
She did. Well, her mom did remarry,
Okay.
which is nice. And Betty ended up calling her stepfather dad.
Interesting.
Glad that it worked out for all of them. But she does feel so torn because she's like, I do love to dance, but also my mom's pressuring me. She ultimately goes to Martha Graham and is like, I have to go. And Martha just knew that she didn't want to give her all.
Was it like the scene in The Hills with Lauren Conrad?
You'll always be known as the girl who didn't go to Paris.
Yeah, was it like that?
Yes, I think it definitely was.
Damn.
You'll always be known as the girl who quit Martha Graham.
Martha Graham seems a little scary.
I think she would be.
But I mean, how can you not, I guess?
Of course. I remember the dance studio I went to. I feel like every dance studio has a framed photo of Martha Graham.
She's such a tall woman.
Yeah. So she goes back to Michigan for 6 months, ends up staying.
And her mom probably knew that's a little trap.
Exactly. I'm like, her mom does seem very sweet, but also like she didn't let her quite fly in that way, you know? But she becomes like the Martha Graham of Michigan. Like she opens like a school and starts teaching all these people dance, and she's only like 22 years old. And then she's being wined and dined by the local bachelors, and she begins falling for a guy she dated in high school named Bill Warren. And he worked in insurance, and they had similar interests, but Betty's mom and new stepdad did not like him, which made Betty want him even more.
Was he a bad boy?
I don't know if he was bad. I think that they were he must have had something that her parents were like, this is not the guy for you.
Yeah, I don't trust the name.
She would have a different guy come knock on the door, and then she would leave with him and go get in Bill's car. It was like one of their mutual friends to hide it from them.
Insanely hot?
She was gorgeous.
Wow.
A gorgeous woman.
I guess like I've never seen young photos of her.
Yeah,
I mean, I think she's beautiful.
You can also tell that she just has the it factor.
Little manic pixie dream girl energy.
100%. And just, yeah, like I know that it's the Riz guys for charisma, but I said the Raz.
So we're going to continue on Ram saying Raz.
Yeah, Betty had the Raz. She had the razzle dazzle. And it worked in her favor. So he was a traveling insurance guy, and he traveled a lot for work, not dissimilar from her dad. They end up getting engaged and married in 1942. And when she vowed in sickness and in health, she had no idea how much those words would weigh would hold. So began what she refers to now as the 5-year misunderstanding.
Oh my God.
What a way to describe a relationship.
I mean, do you think probably one of our exes has described
Oh,
our relationship like that?
100%.
Might not be the number, but
Yeah,
like sentiment.
The 3-month misunderstanding, 100%. I have a very clear person in my mind.
I do as well.
But so she, for the traveling part, he traveled for his work or like lack thereof. He kind of be like, well, now I want to try doing this. Now I want to try doing that. And she has to help supplement their income. So she gets a job at Bird's Eye Frozen Food Processing Plant. And she worked at a conveyor belt sorting through vegetables because he couldn't figure his shit out.
Ladies, raise the bar.
And so she's like, this isn't what I wanted. Like, I expected us to, because it was, back in the day, like she had an expectation that he would have a good job and that she would have kids and have a nice home.
And she like had a dance studio.
And
like
she had a dance
that
studio.
woman's helping out too.
Exactly. She had to move away from her people. It's just not the life that she thought she was going to have. He wasn't a dependable husband, and it turns out he was also an alcoholic.
God, I'm like, who was an alcoholic in the 40s?
No kidding.
Like, especially after the Great Depression, I feel like everyone was like, that was so terrible.
That was, what did we just go through? Like, it rocked everyone, of course.
And it didn't just like end so, like, that stayed, the troubles followed.
Yeah, we still feel it, I assume.
Yeah.
So 3 years into her marriage, she's like, this isn't working for me anymore. And then in the 40s, like, getting a divorce, like, really isn't a thing that people do. And then being a divorcee, like being a woman, it's like having a scarlet letter. Like, a man can be divorced and so whatever.
Yep.
But for a woman, it's hard. But she knew this is what she wanted to do. So shortly after she decided, I'm going to file for divorce, he fell into a coma. He had diabetes and then also had a drinking problem, and he got ill and fell into a coma. So she has to pause her divorce because she's like, I can't divorce this man after he just fell into a coma. And she cares for him for 2 years.
That is like the worst timing imaginable. Also, yeah, like what if, I've never even thought about that. What if someone's in a coma for like 10 years? Can you not divorce? Or no, there's like a sound mind
I feel like,
thing.
so at 27 years old, she felt like her life was completely over. And during these 2 years, she lived upstairs of his family home while he was downstairs and he was being nursed downstairs. She also worked multiple jobs in order to support herself and him.
Like he was just like in a coma.
I think he eventually came out of a coma, but he was so sick still.
Oh my God.
For 2 years.
And then you're probably like, God, now I can't be like, let's break up. Like 100%. The second they wake up.
100%. So when he finally gets better at 29 years old, she goes straight to a divorce lawyer.
29 is your Saturn return.
It's all happening for her.
It's all happening for her.
She's figuring it out. So she was ready to spread her wings.
Good.
So she got out of the 5-year misunderstanding. Now, before the divorce is even final, she's at home and she gets a call from her friend. And she's like, hey, do you know Gerald Ford? He wants to take you for a drink.
Oh my God.
I know. Now, okay, Gerald Ford. He was a star football player at Michigan, which they just won the national championship. So if you guys are Michigan fans, congrats. He got drafted to play professional football for both the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers, but he turns that down to go to law school at Yale.
Hot.
So hot.
So hot.
And also like impossible as like a human. Like, how can you be smart?
Was he a Nepo baby?
No.
Of some kind?
His past life, and I know this isn't not his past life. He was a
like,
prince.
we're gonna get into his past life. He was a boy on a ship.
Erica Jane. No, his dad. It's a crazy story. His stepfather. He didn't grow up with his biological dad, but that comes into play. Go Wikipedia Gerald Ford's life, but he wasn't like super wealthy, but I think he was fine.
Yeah.
He then, after Yale, goes into the Navy and fights in World War II, and is like a World War II veteran.
Jesus.
And then is now a successful lawyer.
Okay.
So
what a life.
What a life. So he calls her friend calls Betty up and is like, Gerald Ford, he wants to take you for a drink. She's like, I'm not even divorced yet. He takes the phone from her friend and he's like, let me take you for a drink. It's like The Notebook,
Wow.
That's caused some controversy in our friend group as well.
That sure has, if that was okay for him to pursue her.
Keep
beyond
pursuing
that,
it.
yeah.
Well, it worked for them. They had like kind of crossed paths, so they kind of knew each other because they were both from Michigan. He's like, please have a drink with me. Eventually she says yes. They go get a drink that night. And then they start hanging out more and they really just are enjoying each other's company. And then 6 months later, They're engaged.
Damn. So it was like love at first sight?
I think it was.
Or do you think she was just like enamored by the lifestyle?
I think that they are. I think we all have multiple soulmates, and I think that they are one of each other's soulmates.
Wow.
What-
Well,
it just fit for them.
yeah.
So he proposed, and in the book, he proposed before they even said "I love you" to each other. But she was like, he asked me to marry him, so I knew that he loved me.
You know, there's some couples that like don't say I love you.
Oh, I'm like words of affirmation are definitely
Same. Need that every morning.
Oh, it's my girlfriends. Every time I hang up the phone, I say I love you.
Oh my God, same.
You just got to tell him. But he proposes. She says yes. He's like, I also can't get married till the fall, but I can't tell you why. And she was just like, okay. She was like, I
She's
trust
like,
him.
I like the mystery.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. He eventually tells her that they can't get married till the fall because he's running for Congress. And by then, the primary election would be over for him. And he feared that he might be unpopular in the primary election if people found out that he was engaged to a divorcee ex-dancer.
Here we fucking go.
How did a middle-class divorcee
Do it. Betty?
Betty, I won't make assumptions about why. Okay, sorry.
Think it wasn't me.
You know, we have to bring it back.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah, here we go. It's always like,
why do you care? But back then, even now, I feel like
has there ever been a president with a divorced
wife?
I'm
not sure.
I feel like that would be like controversial.
It would.
Like even fucking today, it's wild.
I know. Well, I mean, there was Gerald Ford and Betty Ford, but I don't know if anyone else besides them.
Yeah.
So, she was like kind of whatever about the idea of him running for Congress because she didn't think he would win. And I don't think that she knew really what politics were.
She's like, sure, sweetie.
Yeah.
She's like, go have your fun.
Literally, she's like, that'll be cute. And then she was also like, politicians are all old. You're not old, so you can't win.
How old was he?
He was like, I mean, he probably was in his late 20s, early 30s.
Oh.
Yeah, probably in his early 30s at this point. He does end up winning the primary. So her being divorced didn't set him back. And they set their wedding date between the primary and the general election in October of 1948.
They're like, we got to get in there so people are like, I'm wifed up.
Exactly. And this is where Betty sees what it's really like to be married to a politician, though, because she does all the planning because he's out campaigning the whole time. And he is late to their wedding, and he arrives with muddy shoes on because the whole day he had been campaigning at farms. Oh, I'd be pissed.
Clean the shoes.
Put
on a different pair of shoes.
Show up on time
no,
to
it's your
wedding day.
Mm-mm. It's like Paris Hilton.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm watching Paris in Love right now, and her wedding, she was an hour and a half late.
It's just crazy to me.
I wonder if they gave food. I would just be stressed.
They better with that money.
They better have. But I could also see them being like, you just gotta wait. Paris, let us know.
Let us know.
So their honeymoon test. This is so funny. Their honeymoon was going to a football game in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and the next night they attended a campaign rally for a presidential nominee. I'm like, who planned that honeymoon? I know it wasn't Betty Ford.
I would not be happy.
I literally thought of you when I did that. I was like, Tess would be so pissed.
Literally, my like, if I was ever proposed to like at a football game or anything,
it's not okay.
Anything with sports, do not have it in my romantic realm. Please,
yeah.
Please don't.
Betty's sister-in-law later said, with Jerry, you'll never have to worry about other women. His work will be the other woman.
I'd be like, okay. Like, is that comforting?
Literally, and she just leaves her.
Yeah, just blinking. Like in silence. Like, got it.
I got it. So in 1949, Gerald Ford was elected to Congress and they moved to Washington. And it's very exciting for Betty. 1 year after moving, Betty had their first son, Michael. And within like 1 to 2 years of each other, she just starts popping out kids. There's Jack, Stephen, and Susan.
Jesus.
I know. And I think it's Steve Ford that my mom was like, he is a hunk.
Really?
He was a hunk. Yeah.
I want to see.
And Susan Ford in the show, Dakota Fanning played her.
My God, the show. We need to watch the show.
I agree.
I've never even seen like a clip from it.
I remember I just think I needed to warm up to it more, but I don't know why. It's a Showtime show and they've scrubbed it of all platforms.
Showtime is such a mystery.
I know.
It's so hard to find Showtime.
But I have it with Hulu and it's not even on there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I have no idea why they did that. But anyways, yes, it was like full of happiness. They had the house with the pool, so all the kids would come over.
Love that.
The boys were in Cub Scouts. Like, Susan got into dance. It's just like, seems like the American dream. And despite all of this, Betty couldn't understand why she wasn't perfectly happy, though. So Jerry was an ambitious politician. Gerald Ford and I are on nickname basis, Jerry.
Yeah.
He was on the road sometimes 200 days a year.
Well, sweetheart, no wonder you're never with your man.
Exactly. You don't have your partner. And as he was getting all the applause, she would start to think, but what about me? Who do they think is making it possible for him to travel all over and making these speeches? So Betty starts drinking to cope. I mean, she's alone so much. And I also feel like she must have felt how so many stay-at-home moms feel, where it's like, I haven't talked to an adult all day.
Yeah, and like I'm working so hard, but I'm always just going to be like put down as a stay-at-home mom, even though I'm doing tons of work.
Even though I'm making the world turn.
Like literally. And yeah, allowing your partner to go off and do these incredible things where like you are, like that's because of you.
Exactly. We see you.
We see you and we love you.
Exactly. So one night she wakes up with like a searing pain in her neck, and she goes downstairs because she didn't want to bother Jerry, which is so opposite. When I'm in pain, I'm like immediately Corey's getting woken up.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm dying. Take me to the ER.
Please. So the next morning, he wakes up to find her frozen in agony on the couch, and her hand had swollen up and the pain was just unbearable. So he's like, we're taking you to the ER immediately. Turns out it's a pinched nerve in her neck. And she had got it because she was trying to, like the day earlier, push up a window. And I think also she was really stressed and anxious. And so it just pinched the nerve in her neck. They put her in a soft collar and give her some medicine and tell her to go home and just to try to relax. But that was like not possible for her. She was in so much pain. So she goes back to the hospital and she ends up having to stay for 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
To do like intensive physical therapy.
Also, like your neck is such like a dangerous spot.
Oh, when you get a crick in your neck and you have that thought of like, I will never take for granted moving my head.
Oh my God, it's so true. It's just health in general. It's just like
wild.
And then you forget so easily, but
Exactly. So when she was released, she was also told that she had to stay in bed for 2 weeks.
Did they give her like pain medication?
So they prescribe her medication, including Valium. And she was worried about the pain. She was like, it's so bad. I'm afraid to go out in public and for it to start happening again, for the pain to start. And the doctors told her, just don't let the pain start. Keep the medication with you and take it every 4 hours.
Have you ever taken a Valium?
I think so. Every time I go to the hospital, they just give me something new.
Yeah, I've taken a Valium once for a medical thing. What a gorgeous time.
Is it like...
You literally, like, people joke like, oh, the housewives of the 50s were like, I'm floating on a cloud. I was floating on a goddamn cloud.
Really?
It feels really nice.
Well, it's funny.
Which is, why you have to be careful.
why you shouldn't be told by a doctor, don't let the pain start.
No, and now they really manage it so intensely.
Well, it's funny that you say that about the housewives of the 60s, because in the 60s, doctors were giving out amphetamines and tranquilizers to women by the millions. The amphetamines provided a feeling of euphoria and energy with the added benefit of suppressing appetite. Speed was everywhere in the 60s. While the tranquilizers like Valium eased anxiety, the pills were so common, they were known as mother's little helpers.
Oh my God. So, like, what was the point of them giving that out? Just because it was like big pharma and they were like, they'll keep taking this?
100%. I think it just seems like such an easy solution. Like back then, it's just like they didn't know what they did, or they did.
Like you're bored, you're a little depressed.
Take this.
Why not?
Make you go up, make you go down.
Yeah. What do you want from us?
What do you want? Your brain? Just like, what do you want? Soon she begins taking these drugs, and then she begins taking them out of the prescribed dosage and drinking on top of that. Like no one knew.
No mixy.
Yeah,
no mixy.
No one knew the no mixy back then.
Brittany Glanville, really taught me no mixing.
I mean, I think. Allegedly, Denise Richards might be teaching us no mixy lately on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and it's just so sad that these injuries are like sometimes what does cause these addictions. Like,
exactly.
Would she ever, if she didn't get that pinched nerve, like would she have,
started the pills? Right. And I think that a lot of times with addiction, it's like a perfect storm, right? Because she was already feeling so lonely. And
it's already in there.
Exactly. And she has a history of addiction in her family.
Yeah.
But we didn't have any of this information at this time. So, it only gets worse when in 1965, Gerald Ford becomes the minority leader of the House and his schedule becomes even more demanding. And Betty said she would read these articles about her husband being places and doing all these things. And she said that she realized that she was considered a nobody and she just felt like she had no self esteem. She started experiencing depression and withdrawal. She's 47 at this point. She was also starting to have menopause, the change of life. And she
The
just
change of
said
life.
she's 47, but she felt so much older.
Oh,
I know.
sweetheart.
And she had
Why
done,
couldn't she go with him to some of these things?
well, who would watch the kids?
Oh, yeah.
And also, I don't think these things were like, since,
Not like fun.
yeah. And since he's not like a president or vice president yet, I don't think like the wives usually like join.
Yeah, like
on
what are they going
that.
to do? Like sit in a hotel room
Yeah,
while they go? Like,
exactly.
yeah.
And she had done what so many women had done at this time, where she got married, she devoted her life to her husband and to her kids, and she completely lost her drive and her identity and her ambition. There was actually a book that was written called The Feminine Mystique that came out at this time, and it was describing this whole thing.
Oh, yes.
I think, was it Betty Friedan who wrote that?
I know. I'm like, who did what? We're just talking about this in the Gloria
Yeah.
episode, maybe?
And there was another one that we had
Yes.
just talked about that. So that book was coming out. So people were starting to realize that that's what was happening, and that's what was happening to Betty. She eventually has a nervous breakdown in front of her kids. It was just like she was inconsolable. Gerald comes back home and some doctors come over, and in her room, the doctor suggested that she should start seeing a psychiatrist.
Well, you guys did this to her. You put her on a bunch of pills.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's always like, yeah, she has this nervous breakdown. It's like, well, what do you expect to happen?
Right. Well, thank God someone suggested that she go see a psychiatrist, which was so taboo back then. She starts seeing a psychiatrist weekly, and the psychiatrist told her that you need to take one whole day for Betty and do what you want, be out with friends, or do whatever appeals to you.
I feel like that's very like revolutionary at
I
that time for someone to say
know.
that to a stay-at-home mom.
Exactly, to be like, you matter and do what you want to do. So she goes back to dance.
I can't.
I know. And she said being back in the modern dance class with other women, it was like a pressure released in her. I know.
Aw.
However, she did continue to take pills, and it wasn't something she
She's like, I'm getting emotional. I'm like, but the Valium was being popped.
Yeah, and she said she never discussed her pill problem or her drinking with her psychiatrist because she thought that her drinking was normal, and it probably was one of those things. Probably is one of those things that you have in the back of your mind that you're like, maybe I should bring this up, but I don't want to.
We've all had that with our therapist before, being like, should I even?
100.
And that's when you know that you need to. And then sometimes you still don't. And there's no judgment.
It's your journey.
It's your journey.
Exactly. In 1972, Gerald Ford can see that Betty's starting to not do well, and he's also realizing it's very unlikely he'll ever be Speaker of the House. So he's kind of like, you know what? I should probably retire soon.
Okay. Well, nice that you're finally showing up for your partner. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that you have to be making, you know.
Making money and ambition. And she did love his ambition. Like, I think that's something that she really loved about him that was so different than her ex-husband. But a balance would be nice.
Yeah.
You know? But Betty's like, thank God, please retire. It's time. She's elated. He was in his early 60s. She was in her mid 50s at this point. They'd done the work. Now, at this time, we have Nixon as president. And he's under investigation for Watergate. Check out our Watergate episode.
A classique.
Classique. The vice president is this guy named Spiro Agnew, but Spiro had to resign because in 1973 it had come out that he had been taking bribes while governor of Maryland.
Good.
Classic. So now Nixon needs a vice president replacement. And someone from the White House goes to Ford and he's like, if Nixon were to nominate you as VP, would you take it? And him and Betty talk it over. Betty at first is like, you just said you were going to retire.
She's like, oh, I thought we are going to have some more date nights.
Truly. Now you're talking about being vice president. And he's like, well, I'd only be in office till the end of Nixon's term in 1977. And then I would leave. And they were both also like, it's so unlikely I would get this because he was pretty valuable on Capitol Hill. And then also Gerald Ford's like, well, the vice president doesn't really do anything, honestly.
That is true. She's kind of there for show.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like, great. And Nixon also needed someone who will be guaranteed to be approved for the replacement of the vice president. And every poll on both sides, Gerald Ford was at the top of the list. He was like very bipartisan, Gerald Ford was. So he nominates Gerald Ford. So with them being like, it's so unlikely that he'll do that, he does.
Wow.
So Ford, after he gets nominated, he has to go through confirmation hearings where people basically, grill you to see if you're like fit for it. And Betty felt an obligation to go to all of his hearings. And during his testimony, Gerald Ford was questioned about attending psychiatric care. And the New York Times reported this. If one thing was made perfectly clear, it is that consulting a psychiatrist or a psychotherapist is still an unforgivable sin and sin for an American politician. This is in the 70s that they said that.
Are you bored? Like, do you
Literally?
have anything else to talk about?
There's like all these other things that you could ask to see if someone's fit, and the whole time they kept being like, "No, I think you've seen a therapist. Have you seen a therapist before? You crazy person."
That is so crazy.
It was such a big deal that they thought that he saw a psychiatrist. So after this, Betty Ford was transparent with the news media that it had been her who had seen a therapist. She explained that while her husband had attended 2 sessions with a psychiatric doctor, those sessions were for her care and not the care of his own. Which is also so brave, again, as a woman.
Especially as a woman, yes, because then people are like, oh, she's one of those crazy
She's
women.
a witch.
Yeah, like she's a witch.
They're everywhere. But yeah, for her to come forward and be like, actually, it wasn't my husband, it was me. Now what? Like, what you got? What's so bad about it?
You gonna go after him?
Yeah.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
So, she says, I was advised by the doctor who was treating me for my neck and shoulder and back that perhaps psychiatric help could help me in getting over this pain. And on his advice, I went to a psychiatrist, and I found it very helpful because apparently I was really giving too much of myself and not taking any time out for Betty. It was all going to the children and my husband, and consequently, I was a little beaten down, and he built up my ego. Brave season.
And like even to have to explain that
Yeah.
to the public of like what you're
Truly.
doing to better yourself and your mental health is bullshit.
Bullshit. It's so true. Well, one night, Betty Ford is at home and they get a call and it's the White House. And they're like, you're up to bat.
They're like, it's happening.
It's happening.
It's all happening.
It's all happening.
Truly.
You will be America's next vice president. You need to be at the White House in 2 hours.
This is like literally what happened to us, like on Watch What Happens Live.
I literally did put, I would say, I have nothing to wear. Like, what am I supposed to
You're
wear?
like, can I book a spray tan?
Yeah, 100%.
These are the questions.
Call Sugar and Bronze right away. Book that spray tan.
Book it, honey.
Yep.
Book it in advance.
Exactly. You just never know.
I'm making a mental note right now.
You never know when you can become vice president.
Truly.
So Betty's life changes in an instant. She did say that the recognition her husband was getting was overflowing onto her, and she felt very important, and she liked that.
Love that.
Who
Like,
doesn't?
if you're proud of your man and then you're like, yeah, I'm with him, that's an extension of me.
Exactly. And also being like, oh, who's she?
Exactly.
So on December 6, 1973, Ford was sworn in as vice president, and Betty is thrust out onto the public stage as second lady of the United States.
Wow.
Crazy. So by the time her husband had become vice president, she had 25 years of experience as a political wife, but she was not prepared for the national spotlight. And she didn't love TV interviews, but she saw no reason to filter herself. So she agrees to an interview with Barbara Walters.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, Babs. Under the condition that that it not be political. She's like, my husband's political. I'm not going to answer any political questions.
She's like, let's talk pop culture.
Exactly. So Barbara Walters' first question was asking her thoughts on the Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade decision ruling abortion as constitutionally protected. Remember when it was?
I remember those days. That was nice.
That was
also
nice.
Barbara keeping it light.
Yeah, literally the first question.
Like, good God.
So she could have said, like, I said I'm not doing any political questions.
Yeah.
Instead, she said, quote, I agree with the Supreme Court's ruling. I think it's time to bring abortion out of the backwoods and put it in the hospitals where it belongs. And, like, the vice president, I feel like, God, like, a president wouldn't even, like, say that now.
No, I mean, you know that, like, back in the day, Biden, like, never even said the word abortion, like, before he ran.
That's what I'm saying.
Because he's like, I'm a Catholic guy that, like, doesn't really want to talk about it. He, like, just started saying the word abortion.
It's crazy. And because so many people are so worried about, like, pissing off the other side.
Yep.
And for her her husband is a Republican.
Wow. We
And-
love to see it.
Yeah, for
and that's
her.
why both things can be true.
Exactly.
You can be a Republican and also just support women's
yeah, and also
basic rights and autonomy.
100%. And you could not want to get an abortion yourself and just support healthcare for women.
And just don't talk about or don't don't get one.
Yes, exactly. Then just don't get one.
We love that.
Love it. So she gets a ton of hate mail from these comments. And reflecting on the interview, she said, maybe I shouldn't have said it, but I couldn't lie. That's the way I feel. And then later she says, and of course that was the beginning. Nobody realized that I had ever had an opinion. I mean, all those children, she couldn't. Like being a mom.
Wow.
Yep. So already she's
love
like,
her.
I'm going to say what I want to say.
That's good.
So the Watergate scandal is in full force, and the final blow comes out when the Supreme Court ordered Nixon to turn over the White House tape recordings that linked him to the cover-up.
Always tough.
Always tough. Again, check out our Watergate
It
episode.
is such a fun episode. We do hot or not at the end with everyone involved in Watergate, and it's a fan favorite.
It really is so fun. So on August 8th, 1974, Nixon announces that he's resigning. Just 8 months after becoming vice president, Ford was sworn in as president upon Nixon's registration.
He's like, shit. Like, this man, all these like amazing things happened to him without kind of like.
Isn't it
planning
crazy? 10 months earlier, he was talking about retiring, and then he becomes vice president and president.
There are some people that are just blessed with luck. I mean, this is all kind of luck,
And
you
it
know?
really is. He's the only president and vice president that was never elected.
He's like, sure.
I'll
Just like
take
in the Oval Office, just like leaning back, like,
It's a good example of yes and.
That's true. But was he terrible, like policy wise?
I don't even think he had that much time to do.
He was only
much
there for
policy.
How long was he the president?
He was president, I think, for 2 years.
Okay, so it was quick.
It was quick. And people, I think, were pretty disgusted with the Republican Party at that point. Which, hey,
What has changed?
what has changed? So it was time for Carter, and we'll get there too. But I don't think that's why I tried to look up. Always Googling. Always a little scared when you're talking about a Republican. You know.
I know.
Sorry to say.
Sorry, but we said it.
But it is what it is. Yeah, now Betty is First Lady of the United States.
Damn.
So in his inauguration, Gerald Ford remarked, quote, I am indebted to no man and only one woman, my dear wife, Betty, as I begin this very difficult job.
We love when there's appreciation and public, like, yes, talk about it. Talk about the women in your life.
Exactly. And also knowing, like, I don't owe any of you guys anything, but I do have to answer to her every single day.
And isn't that the truth?
And that's truth. Yeah. And then can you just imagine how much has changed? So they go from being congressman, vice president, president. So then they have to move into the White House, which I have so many questions about the housing quarters in the White House.
Can we get someone on here that we can just ask like the juicy questions about the White
Yes.
House? Like, I want to know, like,
Well, I want to know what their like apartments are like.
Same.
It's the same thing with the royal family. Like I'm watching The Crown right now and being like at Buckingham Palace. And it's like, so they can change the paint, but I think everything else comes out of their pocket to decorate.
like new furniture.
New furniture, all of that stuff. Like Susan always wanted a brass bed, and so Betty wanted to get her a brass bed, and they had a family donate it just for the presidential thing.
But like, also the president like doesn't make really any money.
I know, it's crazy. I think you depend on like book deals and appearances
Yes,
afterwards.
because you're not like, even if you have people over, if it's social, you have to pay for like dinner that night. Like the White House doesn't cover it.
Really?
Unless it's like
Like a state dinner.
and they have like approved it. And but if you're just like, oh, I have some friends from college that like we want to knock back some.
That's crazy.
You have to like pay for the beer.
and it's just like, so how do you get to your apartment? Like it's just crazy to
I
me.
know.
I would love, like, I have so many questions. I want to go.
Oh, I know. I've never been to the White House.
Our friend just went, which is crazy. Alec. With
Oh,
Biden.
that's right.
So
Doesn't
crazy.
Genevieve always go too?
Our our Rammy Genevieve, she did an episode with us. She knows Biden.
That's right. Also, baby Sandy knows Biden now.
Oh my God, all these people just Biden's
Why
a
is-
popular guy.
All of our friends and family are meeting
Yeah,
Biden.
truly. Biden, come on, Ram, anytime.
Yeah.
We'll have you.
We would love to.
Yeah, we would have you. So all eyes are on Betty. She said it was one of the saddest days of her life, though, actually. I think she never really wanted to be first lady. Also, they were friendly with the Nixons, and I think that they're just like, how could he do this to everyone and lie to everyone? And the country is just rocked by it, because up until that point, you didn't think politicians lied.
Just wait till next week.
Oh
Just
my
wait, or the
God.
week after, whenever it's going to be. We'll talk.
You can join Patreon to know what subject we're covering
Yes,
next. But it's
because-
kind of a presidential theme.
Mm-hmm.
So
So she's like mourning.
she's mourning it, yes, for sure. But she also said, quote, I figured, okay, I'll move to the White House, do the best I can, and if they don't like it, they can kick me out, but they can't make me somebody I'm not.
Oh, the pressure. the like fear of what's about to come, of
Yep.
like ridicule and probably overanalyzing her, because the women always get the
100%.
short end of the stick.
And it's like you have Secret Service now. Like your life is just so different. And I think
Yeah, it must
feeling
feel
like you
cold.
have to have Secret Service is scary, you know?
Yeah, God.
Michelle Obama said one of the things she was looking forward to the most after the presidency was driving with the windows rolled down, because you can't do that as president. I know. That's crazy. So she immediately caused a stir by telling reporters that she and the president would be sharing a bed, something that was shocking at the time. From the Eisenhower administration, the first lady and the president had different bedrooms and they did not share a bed. When the Fords were moving into the White House, their king-size bed was photographed being moved in, which prompted Betty to say that they had been outed for breaking the tradition of the first couples keeping separate bedrooms.
But like they're married.
Well, some people started calling them immoral. Like, what do you want?
Is it still the time of like sex is just used for procreation?
But I mean,
But
some
like
people
it's the
think that
70s.
It's exact
Honey,
free
it's the
love.
70s.
Honey, the
you
pill.
Know, the pill is loud and proud right now.
It's crazy to be like they're immoral for sharing a bed.
They have 3 children. Where do you think that comes from?
The stork, of course.
Of course.
It's so crazy.
God, this country
I know.
This country is broken, and it always has been. It always will be.
The tabooness around sex is just shocking.
The stigmas that just never go away.
Exactly. But they were always a super affectionate couple. Betty was observed audibly telling her husband, "I love you," after they shared a kiss, which doesn't seem crazy, but that just like hadn't happened before. And later that day, President Ford was caught momentarily patting Betty's butt before the press gathered outside the Virginia
No wonder
residence.
they had that one bed.
No kidding.
They're like the Meghan and Harry before Meghan and Harry.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, they're like, we love each other. Why would we not?
You can like hold hands and show that. Wouldn't the public like that, of being like, oh, our president is like a good husband
and love. Yeah, I don't understand it. In a 1975 interview with McCall, the magazine, Betty said that the press had asked her everything except how often she slept with her husband. If they had, her answer would be as often as possible.
Horny little thing.
The Fords were horny as hell, for sure.
That should be the title of this episode. Working title.
Working title. The Fords were horny as hell.
Everyone's like,
send it to Spotify to promote.
They're like, these girls keep us young.
That's right. So yeah, they're horny. And she also brought back dancing as an activity of the White House state dinners. The Nixon administration had previously removed dancing from
I
the
bet
state
they
dinners.
did.
They seemed like the worst. Apparently the White House staff was like so happy when the Fords came in because they like, actually said hi. And there was like staff members who were like, the Nixons never even like looked at me.
I bet they didn't even want to see what like Richard Nixon looked like when he was dancing. They're like, let's just remove it entirely so no one has to endure that.
It wasn't actually Nixon. It was like the staff.
Yeah, they're like, we think
this is a good idea. Yeah, but Betty was like, these dinners are boring as hell. Let's turn up. Let's dance. And dancing often lasted beyond midnight. And she's a dancer. She's like doing modern dance.
Everyone's just having to watch. Do you think she smoked weed?
We'll get to a mention of weed later.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not the first. But I think that Betty... But I hope so. I would like to think in a modern
I think like
world.
everyone probably has that we think hasn't.
I think so too. Try it once.
Let us know.
Let us know. If you haven't, let us know.
Yeah. Genuinely curious.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Let us know if you've tried it or not.
You're just like, actually, just keep talking about it.
So, weeks after becoming First Lady, though, Betty was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh.
And in 1974, a breast cancer diagnosis was most often a death sentence.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, a radical mastectomy was the best option to prolong life, but reconstruction surgery was so new that it also meant permanent disfigurement at that time as well. So it's really intense. It's also women's health. Like, it was not
People were not probably prioritizing that research.
At the time, Tess, the word breast was considered almost vulgar or pornographic, to the point that in the 50s and 60s, women who died of breast cancer were often listed as dying from a woman's disease. Again, this country is so broken.
So disgusting.
You can't even say the word breast. Men have breast.
Everyone has nipples. We've talked about this multiple times on the show.
Everyone has nipples. Some have 3.
Some have more than 3.
So what's the problem? Isn't that so infuriating to hear?
Just beyond.
Mm-hmm. So Betty and Gerald talked about if they should share the news with the world. Betty said, I just feel like there are other women out there going through the same thing and they're scared. And here I am getting the best medical care in the world. And I need to talk about this.
What a sacrifice of
No
like
kidding.
your own comfort.
Because you are like scared as hell and to have to share that with the world.
And then especially with the stigma too with breast cancer.
Exactly. So Betty underwent a radical mastectomy on September 28th, 1974. Along with the breast and some supporting muscle, the doctors removed lymph nodes from Betty's armpits, and traces of cancer had been found in 3,
Oh,
which was
so it's probably like
especially dangerous at that time.
like not a early stage.
I think it was an early stage, but I think it was spreading
Yeah.
fast. So again, cancer and breast were 2 words that were whispered, and rarely had a first lady shared something so personal to the world. But after her surgery, she decided to open up about her illness because she said, quote, there had been so much cover up during Watergate that we wanted to be sure there would be no cover up in the Ford administration. And it's like, that's dealing with government stuff. It's so brave for her to be like, I will share my journey with the world.
It really is.
She later said, too many women are so afraid of breast cancer that they endanger their lives. These fears of being less of a woman are very real, and it's very important to talk about the emotional side effects honestly. They must come out in the open.
Oh, what a queen.
What a queen. They actually, so after her surgery, her family went to the hospital, and the presidential photographer also went, and they released photos of her in the hospital bed to the world too. And people had just never seen anything like this. She was one of the first public people to talk about breast cancer, and it makes such a massive impact. After Betty's announcement, so many women had gone to their doctors for breast exams that the incidences of breast cancer rose 15%, a phenomenon known as the Betty Ford blip. Overnight, Betty Ford brought breast cancer into the open, saving thousands of lives in the process.
I mean, it's like, it is just so true that like a celebrity or public figure, when they do things like this, like when Katie Couric did her colonoscopy on live television, like the numbers of people that did that went up. Like, it is just so impactful. So like, you know, it's not necessary, but it's so admirable to like be that vulnerable.
Right, because it's like, when you watch that, you're like, well, if that could happen to the first lady of the United States, who's to say that couldn't happen to me?
It's true. It's so true.
So she talked about also like examining yourself and how you should do that, and like
everyone make sure you're doing your self breast exams, not just when you're at the doctor.
Exactly. And mammograms were pretty new, and so she was talking about that. The fact that it rose 15%.
God, that's amazing.
Like, how many lives must she have saved?
Incredible.
In that case. So she sees this impact, and she's like, wait, I have a much stronger platform than I ever have. So I'm going to continue to speak out on issues. And she was regarded to be the most politically outspoken first lady since Eleanor Roosevelt. And Eleanor Roosevelt was a huge role model for Betty Ford.
I love that.
Me too. She surprised the media and the public by explicitly supporting a woman's right to abortion.
Love.
And she was also a strong supporter of the Equal Rights Amendment.
Love. What a concept.
What a concept. So if you guys don't know what the Equal Rights Amendment is, it's a proposed amendment to the Constitution that would provide for legal equality of the sexes and would prohibit discrimination on the basis of sex. So basically, it just means once you get out into the world, everyone is equal, no matter if you're a man or a woman.
There's a good show about this called
Mrs. America.
Mrs. America, and Kate Blanchett plays Phyllis Schlafly, who was so against the ERA because she was like, do we want our daughters being able to go to war? Like the whole, of course, because
like red herrings on like the whole subject.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's a great show.
It is a great show.
I mean, you want to kill that woman.
Phyllis Schlafly with Love and Light was such a cunt.
Like maybe not with Love and Light. Like you were like an evil woman.
She was an evil woman.
With Love and Light was such
truly. So Betty Ford would lobby like political people or whatever, and would use the White House's phone to call and fight for the ERA. And Phyllis Schlafly is like, she's using our tax dollars to fight for this horrible cause. And so people would stand outside the White House with signs that said, Betty, get off the phone. Yeah. And she took these stances despite knowing that it could be a major risk of conservative backlash against her husband. Like, her husband's a Republican president. She was like, I don't care. She actually said, quote, I do not believe that being the first lady should prevent me from expressing my views. I spoke out on this important issue because of my deep personal convictions. Why should my husband's job or yours prevent us from being ourselves? Being ladylike does not require silence.
Wow. I mean, even though it's like the 70s, it's still the 70s,
Yep.
like her doing this. It's like even when like Hillary as first lady was doing a bunch of shit, people were like, you're involved with healthcare? They're like, she doesn't do that. And it's like, why not? Should the first lady get involved?
Exactly. At this time, first ladies were supposed to be seen and not heard.
Just like look pretty, show up in nice outfits.
Exactly. And she was very outspoken, so much so that the West Wing was like, we need to control her. Dick Cheney at the time, was chief of staff for Gerald Ford. And he goes to him and he's like, listen, her outspokenness is out of control. You need to tell her to cool it. And President Ford was like, if you want her to cool it, you're going to have to go and tell her to cool it. I'm not going to tell her.
How
cool it."
losery.
Literally, I also love that Ford is like scared of his wife too.
Yeah,
He's like,
I'm not touching that. The 10-foot pole.
I know better.
And that's a good partner.
Exactly. She said that she used pillow talk time when she knew that he was going to be quiet or tired and vulnerable to push ERA stuff on it.
That is the most amazing thing I've ever heard.
Like literally saying when he's vulnerable. She's
It's like post-orgasm. Like, so you're going to sign this, right? And he's like, all right.
It's so true. We love a woman who knows how to work.
Of course. You got to find those moments.
You do. So she actually does a 60 Minutes interview where she tells her views on premarital sex, marijuana, and abortion.
Talk about it.
Talk about it, Betty. So they asked her how she would, this is so weird that they even asked her. They asked her how she would counsel her daughter if she was having a premarital affair. Which is so,
like dating?
See, to me, I'm like, no, like having sex out of marriage. Like, that's inappropriate.
It is inappropriate.
But it's not okay to say breast.
Your daughter's not the one that's president.
No kidding.
And also, like, gross.
And, like, that's none of your goddamn business.
No one's sex life is anyone's political business.
Exactly. Well, she said that she would not be surprised or angry if her daughter had an affair or tried smoking marijuana. And she said Ford further speculated in the interview that all 4 of her children had likely already tried marijuana and that she herself probably would have tried or probably also would have experimented with it had it been more popular to do so when she was growing up.
Good for her.
I
love that.
Again, like so radical for the first lady. Like even thinking about seeing like Michelle Obama being like, actually, I guess there were pictures of Obama smoking weed, so it wouldn't have been as crazy, but it's just a crazy concept.
I mean, still, there's very few presidents that are like, I have smoked weed.
100%. And even that, didn't he say it was like hash or something?
Yes, then you have to be like, but it was like either it's medical or hash or whatever.
Exactly.
So stupid. It's like from the earth.
Exactly. It's a plant, and it does so much healing. But for a first lady in the 70s to be like, I don't care.
So cool.
So cool. She was like, my kids aren't interested in drugs, and that she trusted her children to make wise decisions, but she would be there for them even if they made unwise decisions.
That's what parenting should be.
That's that on being a mother.
Literally.
What a concept. And then she in addition, Betty voiced support for a variety of women's liberation causes. She called the Roe v. Wade decision of the United States Supreme Court on abortion the best thing in the world, a great, great decision.
It was, wasn't it?
It was. If she only knew. So shortly before this interview, Ford announced that he would run for president again, and his handlers tried to make a big effort to keep her out of the spotlight after this interview because they're like, shit, she's going to ruin everything for us, and that the conservatives were going to be really pissed. And there were conservatives that were pissed, but her popularity soared. It was all these women who were like, finally, it's someone like speaking the truth and like hearing what I think or saying what I think. Her poll ratings topped her husband.
It's just like a lesson. Like people want to hear from women. Women make up half the country.
Yes.
Let them have someone on their side.
Right. More than half the country,
Truly.
I believe.
54?
Something like, who run the world? Girls.
Girls.
He had a 75% approval rating, which is crazy.
That is wild.
That's huge. During the campaign, many Ford supporters wore campaign buttons with phrases like "Betty's husband for president" and "Keep Betty in the White House." So when the White House sees this, they were like, "Oh my God." let's push her out there
Yeah,
more.
like, okay, go. Like, sorry.
Do your best. And this was like a huge contrast. There was a huge public contrast between Betty and Nancy Reagan, because Ford was running against Ronald Reagan in the primaries, and Nancy Reagan had contrasting views on issues such as drug experimentation by teenagers. You know, Nancy Reagan was one who's just say no.
Get over it.
Get over it. I do think we should cover the Reagan administration at some point and the damage that was done.
So much.
Yeah. She, and then also Nancy Reagan opposed passing the ERA, but many of Betty's views were aligned with or even more liberal than Rosalind Carter, the wife of Ford's Democratic opponent.
Yeah.
During President Ford's tenure, Betty persuaded him to appoint more women to the administration than any previous president. And Betty also unsuccessfully tried to convince her husband to appoint a woman to the Supreme Court. Yeah, but she tried.
Hey, that's all we can ask for sometimes.
Yeah, that's
in this
true.
world.
But with her first lady demands, her health problems continued. She also had osteoarthritis. And combined with her schedule, it increased her dependency on painkillers. And then she would like start canceling meetings. She started talking really slow. There was one interview where they asked her, they were like, Miss Ford, are you on something? And she said, she was like, yeah, I'm on Valium.
Oh.
It's like,
I mean, we love an honest queen.
yeah.
But maybe don't
shocking.
say it to the, I mean, yeah, no, I don't know.
No, shocking.
Shocking.
It is just like, oh, like I'm glad that you said it, but it's just like you don't expect someone to be like doing a press tour on Valium.
Right.
You know? So unfortunately for them with the campaign, it wasn't enough, and Ford lost his election to Jimmy Carter in a very close race. And after Ford's defeat, Betty delivered her husband's concession speech because he lost his voice. And which, like, he could have passed that on to anyone, but I think that says a lot about her and a lot about him and a lot about their relationship.
Yep.
That she gave his concession speech. Crazy.
Damn.
This is the only time that a major United States presidential candidate's spouse has delivered their concession speech on their behalf.
That's amazing.
It is. On January 19th, 1977, her last full day as First Lady, Betty Ford used her training as a Martha Graham dancer to jump on the cabinet room table, and the White House photographer was there, and he took a picture of her dancing on the table.
Did you see it?
Yeah, it's really cute.
Oh my God.
They were like walking through the White House, and she was like, I've always wanted to dance on that table, and she just goes up there and does it.
I love that.
I know, such a queen. So Betty and Gerald, it's Gerald, right? Not Gerard? Is it Gerard Ford? Jerry. That's why I say Jerry, because in my notes I think I have both.
What's that actor's name? How's Gerald?
Gerard Butler. I might have been saying his name wrong the whole time.
But
that's why we're on nickname basis. That's why he's Jerry.
I couldn't tell you.
I couldn't
Just
either.
say Jerry.
Okay. It's about Betty anyways.
Exactly. Who cares?
Yeah. So she's everything and he's just Ken.
Literally.
So Betty and Jerry moved to Rancho Mirage, California to retire.
Chic.
She continues to lobby for the ERA. He continues to work. But it was a good time, but it was also a very lonely time for her because he just like, he can't sit still and he continues to travel and work a lot. She doesn't have her first lady duties like driving her anymore. And she grappled with empty nest syndrome by taking as many as 25 pills a day. And then by evening, she added before and after dinner vodka tonics. 25 pills a day.
Oh, God.
Yeah. She tried to, combine all these pain medications with drinking, and her family can see that she's not handling it well. And her kids said that it was like watching a robot in slow motion.
Oh, my God, I bet.
Yeah.
That many pills with alcohol?
Yeah. And her family says they were in complete denial about it, and they've later come out and like Jerry was like, yeah, I was a huge enabler. Like that's what you do as a spouse because you're in denial yourself that something's wrong.
Yeah.
So it was like in the White House they saw it, but afterwards it was an alarm going off that something's not right here. And her daughter Susan arranges an intervention, and interventions are very new back then. It was like not something that was the norm. And on April 1st, 1978, they all gather in her living room. April Fool's Day, of all time.
Yeah, have a little bit more goddamn.
Like, do it the day before or wait one more day. I just feel like April Fool's Day is not
An
the time
Aries
to do
season,
that.
too.
Wow.
It's her birthday.
I know,
It's a lot.
truly. So she's quite angry with them when they sit down. And they have it's her kids, her husband, and her assistant, and like 2 doctors. And she's like, how dare you criticize me after all I've done for you as a wife and after all I've done for you as a mother? So she really takes it hard.
Yeah, I mean, defensive is the first step, you know?
Of course, of course. But Jerry's love for her really calmed her down. She kept putting a wall up and getting angry, and he just held her hand the whole time and just kept saying, Betty, we love you. They have the
Oh.
prologue in the book is her intervention story, and their love was really
Oh, that's
sweet.
very sweet.
Yeah. So 2 days after the intervention, this says 2 days after the intervention on her 60th birthday, but that's actually not her 60th birthday. But one of those, Betty Ford checked into a treatment program at Long Beach Naval Hospital. When she was admitted, she courageously allowed her doctors to tell the public about her drug dependency, but it wasn't until later that she would admit her alcoholism and discuss it with Barbara Walters in 1978.
Damn.
Yeah, and it was like a shockwave to the country. Like, this is a disease that's kept very secret. There's so much shame around it. And here's the former first lady who seems to have everything together admit that she was an alcoholic. And also, like, when you think of an alcoholic, even now in your head, think of an alcoholic.
You think of
A man
a
washed up in like a ditch.
dirty,
Yep.
someone that's like drinking out of a bottle. Like, and
Yep.
I think just recently people have even ideas about alcoholism. It's like not like you're drinking before in the morning or you're
Yep.
sneaking drinks in at work. Like, it has so many different forms.
Yes, exactly. So many different forms. So her announcing this made it okay for men and women to ask for help.
Yeah.
So she goes in, she gets sober, and 3 years after recovery, she raised millions of dollars to open up a pioneering treatment center. And she wasn't comfortable that the fact that they wanted to put her name on it. She was just like, it's a great deal of responsibility for patients, for how patients turned out. And also, like, 3 years in, I'm so freshly new in my recovery.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure. But her husband really encouraged her to do that. And also, they were like, women will feel safer going to a rehab place if a woman's name is on there.
Totally. And like what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, like the family aspect of it, it's like it feels like a little bit more maternal.
It does.
And comforting and safe.
It does. Not only did she put a face to addiction, she opened up the first rehab center to dedicate an equal number of beds to women as to men.
Amazing.
She saw that many of these treatment centers cater primarily to men, so she set out to ensure that her treatment center was welcoming to both men and women. They pioneered gender-specific treatments, separating the therapies and living quarters of the men and women. They found that women didn't discuss certain issues with men in the room, and that men often felt like they had to be like macho and also not be vulnerable if there were other women in the room.
Still happens today. It's like why so many men go to male therapists and women go to female therapists.
Exactly. I wonder how they are approaching the gender issue now.
Yeah, that's very true. Maybe you can specifically ask for certain accommodations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
it's probably a little different now.
She seems and I'm sure her legacy is she was so with the times and with the people.
Totally.
So
I'm sure they really cater to like the individual now, you know?
100%. And like, I feel like you just did not see that.
Yeah.
And through her work that she did at the Betty Ford Center, she tackled the stigmatized issues of HIV/AIDS. During the HIV/AIDS crisis, Betty recognized the link between drug abuse and AIDS. She got involved in the Los Angeles AIDS Project, and in 1985, Betty received the Los Angeles AIDS Project's Commitment to Life Award. Her acceptance speech spoke hopefully of the prospect that attitudes towards HIV/AIDS would shift, being destigmatized as cancer and alcoholism had.
Well, thank God she's doing something because you know that Reagan was ruining everything.
Yes, and she later wore her AIDS ribbon pin to the 1992 Republican National Convention. I love that because you know that people
it's gonna
there
piss people off. I love it.
Same. She continued to support gay and lesbian rights throughout her lifetime, speaking out against military discrimination and in favor of same-sex marriage.
God, I mean, she really doesn't sound like a Republican.
I know. I wonder if it was a different time. Like, I feel like,
right. That's a good point.
And also, like, I don't think that she was involved in politics at all. And then she ended up marrying a Republican, and they disagreed on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And she continued to push him.
And like Republicans didn't used to be so much of like, this means this is what you believe socially. Like they've used different tactics like women's health and gay rights to like
I think
get
Reagan.
religion.
Exactly. I think Reagan changed everything, and then Trump really changed everything, And again, like this is a bipartisan thing. In 1993, feeling they would have more impact together than as individuals, Betty Ford and her former campaign rival, Rosalind Carter, joined forces to urge the White House and Congress to include in any health care reform legislation being written coverage for mental health and substance abuse. So having protection for mental health and substance abuse. And she received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Betty Ford died of natural causes on July 8th, 2011, 3 months after her 93rd birthday at the Eisenhower Medical Center in Rancho Mirage.
Oh, she lived a long life.
She did.
Wow.
After all the things she went through.
I mean, after taking 25 pills a day that you can live until you're 93, good for you.
No kidding. And I'll leave you with this. She's perhaps best described in former First Lady Rosalind Carter's eulogy for her. Betty Ford was someone who was willing to do things a bit differently than they had been done before. Someone who had the courage and grace to fight fear, stigma, and prejudice wherever she encountered it. Betty Ford's transparency and activism saved countless American lives and inspired new generations of women to speak out about important political matters. President Ford himself admitted that when the final tally is taken, her contributions to our country will be bigger than mine.
Oh, what a, wow.
That's Betty Ford.
I love her.
I love her too.
I'm very inspired by her and
Me
just
too.
really love what she did for this country.
Me too. And I think she's a good example. I mean, she said with the ERA, so many people are you're shaming women for being housewives. She's such a great example of feminism that she's I have 3 kids. I love being a housewife. I want to give women the option to be a housewife.
Exactly. We don't have to put all of us in a box. And she wasn't talking down to any group of people when she was
No.
doing it, which is, I think that can be rare too.
Yes. And the fact that her husband was a Republican and that she disagreed with him a lot, and that instead she was I know exactly how I'm going to get what I want. And
Yes.
she challenged him, and they still had a beautiful, healthy relationship.
And it takes a lot for a man in that position of power to say I owe it all to my wife, and she was a better politician than I was and a better person than I was. That's
big.
remarkable. Truly.
It is. And I'm just so grateful for her contributions. And yeah, I'm just really inspired by her.
I really am too. I'm so glad we started off the month with her. Well done, Claire.
Thank you. 2024.
I mean, yeah, truly gorgeous.
Yeah. And we just love her.
Wow. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
We hope that you guys are happy that we're back. We're so happy that we're back.
Yes.
We have some amazing episodes lined up. Again, we're staying a little political with Tess's.
But you can join Patreon to find out. We're going to start announcing the month subject ahead on Patreon, so you have something to look forward to. So that's another little perk you get.
And next week is scandal, honey.
Scandalous.
I cannot wait, and I'm also scared.
Same.
Yeah.
Always a little scared and a little excited.
That's Ram for you.
Of course.
If you're still here, please follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Right Answers Mostly. Join our Patreon, which is in the show notes.
We haven't had a new review in a while. You can be
Yes.
featured in our newsletter if you write us a fun review on Apple. Give us 5 stars on everything.
And please send in more recommendations. We're just trying to go based off what you guys are recommending now.
Literally all the ones that are coming up are just what you've told us to do. So we're listening.
We're listening.
We always do, kids.
And we love you so much.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.